Mom is no longer with us. Catherine heard her father's quiet, confused voice. He stood perplexed, with the phone in his hand, looking at Catherine with a devastated look. Daddy, what's wrong? Please tell me. Catherine was shaking her father's hand, and the wild fear of tragedy shackled the whole body of the 15-year-old girl. Your mother died during childbirth, the father replied, stammering and barely holding back tears. Unbearable pain squeezed the girl's heart. Just yesterday, they were discussing the name of the future baby with Mom and Dad. Catherine had pressed her hands and cheek against her mother's stomach and listened to her sister move. And at night, her mother was taken by ambulance to the maternity hospital with contractions. Catherine hardly slept the rest of the night, waiting for the joyful news and imagining what her little sister would be like. Catherine didn't want to believe what she had heard. Shock, fear, indignation, and misunderstanding overwhelmed the girl. No. She felt as if everything inside her screamed. Acceptance began to come to her gradually. Grief gripped the family. Catherine and Dad hugged each other tightly and cried bitterly. A few days later, the baby was discharged from the hospital. Our Mirabelle, Catherine and her father spoke at the same time. Mirabelle was the name they all chose together on the eve of her mother's unexpected. Dad and Catherine brought little Mirabelle home and put her in a crib. The baby girl yawned and smiled sleepily, as if to show that everything will be fine. I am your Mirabelle. Catherine quickly matured because now she was taking the place of Mirabelle's mother. Catherine took full care of her sister. Little Mirabelle was happiness and joy for their family, and 5 years later, another tragedy came to their house. Dad was gone. Everything reminded Catherine of her former happiness, about her carefree childhood while her mother was alive, about how she and Dad raised Mirabelle together. But Catherine also could not forget all these tragic events that took place in her home and in her family. Mirabelle, you're going to school soon, Catherine said. What city would you like to study in? In a big, beautiful one, so that there was a river and a zoo, a skating rink, and even carousels, Mirabelle listed, bending her small fingers to count. Catherine hugged the girl and realized which city they would move to the place where happiness awaits them. The evening in the Smith family passed as usual. The head of the family, George, while waiting for dinner, aimlessly clicked the buttons on the TV remote and scolded without malice that there were more and more channels, and there was simply nothing to watch with pleasure. Elizabeth, along with her 12-year-old daughter Emma, cooked simple but very tasty dishes. Remember, daughter, when you mash the potatoes a little, then add milk, be sure to warm it up at the beginning. I know, Mom, you've already told me that 1,000 times. We also need to make sure that the foam does not get there. The girl charmingly wrinkled her nose, showing her attitude to this product. Do not worry, it is simply impossible to forget your science. George and Elizabeth's eldest son, Danny, 25, was also in the kitchen, having returned to his father's house after a short marriage of 3 months. He was slicing vegetables for a salad and thought how lucky he was with his family after all. How could he have imagined that his wife Lily, who claimed her faithful love, was so easy and simple to cheat on him? Parting with his wife greatly affected the guy's ego. His ex-wife reproached him for financial insolvency and lack of activity in the performance of marital duty. In general, the only joy in this difficult situation for Danny was the fact that his relatives did not get on his nerves, and they just didn't think about Lily, as if she didn't exist. Finally, Elizabeth, together with the children, cooked all the dishes, and the whole family traditionally sat down at the table. Between mashed potatoes and salad, the son announced to his parents that he would celebrate New Year's Eve, not at home, but with his former classmates. Harry got divorced too. Invited Andrew, Serge, and me, in general, our entire male company. both housewarming and celebrating the new year at once. The news did not come as a surprise to parents. After all, they understood perfectly well that their son had grown up a long time ago. And besides, all the guys listed were well known to them. Andrew, Serge, and Harry met Danny at school, and surprisingly, time did not affect their friendship too much. They studied together at the same institute. And Harry and Andrew even worked together, and Elizabeth and George, without collusion, thought that an evening with old friends would help him unwind. "Say hello to all the guys for us," Danny's mom smiled tenderly, and in general invited them to sit with us sometime. "I haven't seen them for a long time. I missed them." "That's right, son. We'll get your console from the mezzanine, and we'll play like before." George got the idea of his wife. Emma tried to ask Danny to come to Harry's New Year's celebration, but received a firm and terse refusal from her brother. "Don't even think about it." The month remaining before the holiday flew by unnoticed. After congratulating his parents and sister on the upcoming, Danny got ready to visit a friend. In one hand, the guy had a bulky bag with groceries that he had bought on the table, and in the other, with Mom's salties. With all the supplies, he went to Harry. Because of the terrible ice, the sidewalk looked more like an ice rink. And Danny saw how, almost at the very entrance to a friend's house, a girl fell backwards, absurdly waving her hands with packages. Approaching her, he put down his bags and helped her get up and collect the rolled tangerines. "Oh, thank you very much," the stranger thanked him. "I don't understand how she managed to fall." The girl only looked straight into Danny's eyes for a few seconds, but he felt a warm and pleasant feeling in his heart. "Absolutely, not at all. It's so slippery here." And the guy hurried to pick up his bags, because his plans did not include a new novel at all. However, it turned out that both he and the stranger go to the same entrance. The girl, after a little hesitation, still entered the elevator with Danny. They almost said in unison, "I'm on the 4th." It was impossible not to smile. And the girl asked, "Are you going to Harry's by any chance?" "Yes, this is an old friend of mine." Dima really liked the gray eyes of the traveling companion and the cute dimples appearing on her cheeks and the minimal amount of cosmetics which his ex-wife was so fond of. "I have agreed to celebrate the New Year with him. Are you going to celebrate with him too?" "No, I live next door to him." A short conversation was interrupted with the opening of the elevator, and Danny decided to introduce himself for some reason. My name is Daniel." "Catherine," the girl answered, and opened the door with her key, letting her companion inside and showing that Harry lived here. "I wish you all the best and Happy New Year." Danny knocked on the door of Harry's apartment and soon found himself among loyal friends. "Oh, what a surprise, Danny," Harry yelled with joy. "Didn't we lock the door here?" "No, your neighbor let me in, Catherine." "Good girl." The landlord immediately responded and added, "It's a pity that the girl is a little harsh." Andrew and Serge's friendly laughter erupted immediately. "Has she already turned you down? Did you not appreciate the unearthly beauty and cosmic charm?" In a noisy atmosphere of mutual jokes, friends saw off the old year, and the apartment continued to be filled with new guests. Harry explained to his friends that he had also invited his colleagues, who had nowhere to celebrate the holiday. As a result, the company turned out to be twice as large as planned. Instead of friendly gatherings of 4, 10 people gathered. The atmosphere, despite the fact that many were strangers, was cheerful. But there were problems with the furniture. A sofa and 2 chairs were available, but there were not enough seats at the table. And Harry turned to Danny. "Listen, friend, can you go to the neighbor and ask for chairs? And then we have some kind of buffet, turns out." Danny was surprised to realize that he was as worried as before a date when he knocked on Catherine's door. A pretty girl in a simple but surprisingly suitable dress opened the door for him without asking who came. And from behind, with enthusiastic cries, a girl of about 6 jumped out with huge bows fluttering over pigtails like exotic pink butterflies. "Mommy, Catherine!" Hooray! Santa Claus has come. No, Mirabelle, it's not him, Catherine replied. It's Daniel, a friend of our neighbor. Excuse me, can you help out with the chairs? Danny was a little surprised that a noticeably young girl as Catherine seemed to him had such an adult daughter. Harry, it seems, called the whole city to him, he said, trying to make an awkward joke. I imagine, Catherine said. Of course, I'll help you out. Mirabelle and I are celebrating together today. We're not waiting for anyone, so we'll sit on the couch. In the kitchen, there was an appetizing aroma of vanilla. He didn't even really want to go back to his friend's apartment. However, he took the offered chairs and with regret left the girl he liked so much. The fun was in full swing, but Danny was uneasy. He wanted to look into Catherine's eyes again. And even the girl's daughter didn't bother him at all. Therefore, he gladly volunteered to walk to the nearest open supermarket when it turned out that Andrew had forgotten to buy water and tonic, which the ladies from Harry's work who came to the party erratically asked for. Come on, Andrew, I'll walk with you, otherwise it will be hard to bring. And there was ice on the street, Danny said, and he remembered how he met Catherine. Even in the store, he couldn't get rid of thoughts of Catherine and Mirabelle waiting for Santa Claus. He added a soft rabbit and a surprise toy, a Santa Claus hat and beard, a bar of high-quality chocolate, and a bottle of sparkling wine to the cart. Catching the surprised look on his friend's face, he explained, I'll bring it to my neighbor for letting us use her chairs. Otherwise, I'm uncomfortable. Danny put the souvenirs for the charming Catherine and her daughter in separate gift bags, and sliding and cursing, the guys still got to their destination. Andrew brought the drinks into Harry's apartment, and Danny, wearing the attributes of a fairy tale character, knocked on the neighbor's door again. Where is the girl who was waiting for me? Slightly changing his voice, he asked Catherine and winked. The joyful Mirabelle looked attentively at the guest and hurriedly told him poems and in general everything that seemed important to her. She told him, Next year I will go to school. I already got a backpack, and after the holidays, I'll go back to prep school. It's good that you came to us because Catherine doesn't believe in miracles at all, for some reason. Handing the girl a well-deserved gift and waiting until she ran away to examine it, he handed a modest present to Catherine. It's like compensation for chairs, inconveniences, and in general. We will obviously make noise and we will interfere with Mirabelle's rest. Danny, how embarrassing. I don't even know how to thank you. Mirabelle wanted a holiday so much. As luck would have it, I didn't have much money now, and it's expensive to order Santa Claus during the new year as a fee to pay a world-class star. All you're doing today is helping me out. Tears sparkled in Catherine's eyes, and Danny hurried away. Because another minute, and he would have completely lost his head. The magical midnight in which it is customary to make a wish flashed by. Fireworks were booming, and Danny did not forget for a second about the neighbor who was so close, and, at the same time, so far away. He was trying to figure out why he was attracted to the girl. But then he gave up on everything and began to come to her after work. They took Mirabelle with them, and remembering their childhood, they went downhill, played snowballs, and just enjoyed life. Their romance developed quickly, and on March 8th, Danny decided to introduce Catherine to his family. Elizabeth, having learned that her son would bring a girl to whom he wanted to propose soon, began to ask Danny, Who is she? How old is she? Aren't you in too much of a hurry? Danny told her everything he knew. He did not keep silent about the fact that Catherine is raising Mirabelle alone. Elizabeth tried to reason with her son that having children is not easy. She explained that he would have to build a relationship not only with the woman he loved, but also with the girl. And it's not easy, both morally and financially. Danny cut off all the lectures. I do not care. Please don't be upset, but I'm not leaving Catherine or Mirabelle. When they first met Catherine, Danny's parents were wary about her. Elizabeth looked into the girl's face, could not drive away from herself the unpleasant thoughts that her son wanted to burden himself with raising someone else's child. Only the younger sister was childishly enthusiastic, Emma having filled the plates with delicacies, handed Mirabelle lemonade and glasses, and immediately took the guest to her room. Danny tried to shield Catherine from Mom and Dad's questions, but when Elizabeth asked the girl to help her with the plates, George restrained him, who rushed into the kitchen by the hand, and he whispered softly, "Don't bother Mom, son." Elizabeth did not stand up for a long time and immediately asked a direct question. "Catherine, I'm sorry, it's none of my business, but are you really only 21 years old, as my son said?" The girl, without ceasing to wipe the plates, nodded yes. "And anticipating your question, I will answer. I was not married, but do not rush to draw conclusions. Mirabelle is my sister. Mom died when Mirabelle was born. My father died a year ago from a heart attack, and we moved to this city. It was too difficult for me at home, a lot of unhappy memories, and nothing kept me there. I don't tell the Cavaliers right away that Mirabelle is actually not my daughter, but my sister, because it is simply impossible to separate us. She calls me Mom, too. Anyway, I've been raising her since she was a baby. I have no one closer to me, and I understand that I do not want to communicate with them at all, and we are clearly not in the way." Elizabeth, sobbing, hugged the girl and said, "I hope Danny passed this test of yours." Catherine smiled sheepishly because he had passed. "I just don't know how to tell him about it." Elizabeth and Catherine returned to the table with puffy eyes, but smiling. That evening she told Danny the truth. They celebrated the next New Year already acting as a young family, and Harry was a witness at the wedding because he was charming and a good neighbor.